Pursuant to law, the House will please come to order for the opening of the budget session, 67th Wyoming Legislature. The colors will be presented to open the budget session by the Cheyenne East High Air Force Junior ROTC. This group of fine individuals includes Cadets Egbert, Longfritz, Stevenson, and Allen, and are mentored by Master Sergeant Don M. Elias II. Please rise. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Forward, march. Off. Forward, out. It is an honor to have the Cheyenne East High Air Force Junior ROTC here today. You are a great example for all of us, and we appreciate your discipline, dedication, and love of school, state, and country. Thank you, and thank you, Master Sergeant Elias. And the prayer today will be given by Reverend Mary Cockett of the Christ Episcopal Church of Cody. Please rise.
Let us pray. We remember before God and ask for healing today for Abby Angelos, who cannot be with us at this opening session due to a medical emergency. Let's take a moment and raise in our hearts all those in our lives who are in need of healing in body, mind, or spirit. God desires healing, wholeness, peace, and joy for each and every one of his children. We ask that this be granted to Abby and to all whose lives are broken. And now for all of you, we pray, holy and gracious God, It is through myriad voices that you proclaim your truth in every age. Direct the House of Representatives of this beautiful state of Wyoming as they begin this new session. Bestow upon them the abundance of your blessing. Shower them with the gift of knowledge to understand the needs of the people throughout this great state, our country, and even the world. Grant them wisdom to discern wise use of the rich resources of Wyoming, resources both human and natural. Grant them the gift of sincerity of heart to guide them along new paths, the gift of creativity to think beyond the bounds of conventionality. We pray, especially on this first day, O God, that you watch over our leaders in this house. Give them wise and discerning hearts, generous and caring mentors, and grant to all members of the house the grace to be open to the new, while also faithful to our common past. May each of us be guided by your will and surprised by your joy as we do our part to make the heart of this people wise, its mind sound, its will righteous, and its living holy, to the honor and glory of your mighty wisdom. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Cockett, for being here today. We look forward to seeing you the rest of this week. Reverend Cockett married Sue and I 24 years ago, last December. Representative Stivar.
Who reside in the capital city. The students will sing God Bless the USA. They are directed by Louis Fritz. Fellow representatives, let's help make them welcome.
Hope I can get it.
Shh.
And they can't take that away. And I be how I'm free, and I will forget the men that forget that right to but there ain't no from the days of sorrow to the days of sea. From the things of passes, from sea to shining sea. I will be taught enough to give space, and you want to fight. And I won't forget the men who died. God bless you. And I'm proud to be here. And I won't forget the men who died. Of the rain of time. You.
So thank you all for joining us today. So thank you all for joining us today and sharing your wonderful talents with us. We wish you continued success in your academic careers. And I wanted to thank Representative Stivar for kind of that suggestion, and I thought it was a great idea. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Convening roll call for the first day, February 12th, 2024. Alamand? Allred? Andrew? Angelos? Mr. Speaker. Banks? Bear? Berger? Brown? Burkhart? Byron? Chadwick? Chestick? Clouston? Conrad, Prego, Davis, Eklund, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Henderson, Hornock, Jennings, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwanitzer Dan. Zwanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers. 61 present, 1 excused.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with House Rule 13.5, I move
No.
that there be a consent list for
No,
introductions.
no, wrong script. We have to move the following persons. Here we go. Let me
Oh.
give you this.
Mr. Speaker, forget everything I just said.
Okay,
Where was this? Okay. Mr. Speaker. Okay, Mr. Speaker, I move that the following persons of House session staff employees for the budget session be voted on collectively. This list includes Chief Clerk, Katie Talbot, Deputy Chief Clerk, Reader, John Earnshaw, Computer Floor Clerk, Chris Carlson, Journal Clerk, Gwen Vines, Messenger, Kim Withers, Attorney Secretary, Eve Hamilton, Page, Patty McGinney, Student Page, Emily McDonald, Student Page, Kinsley Merritt, Leadership Secretary, Carol Clark, Sergeant at Arms, Dennis Russell, Lobby Doorman, Greg Yarber, Gallery Doorman, Ed McGinney, Morning Break Room Watchman, Jackie Wortman, Afternoon Break Room Watchman, Virginia Spindler, Staff Supervisor, Clarissa Nord, Committee Secretaries, Debbie Russell, Judiciary, Jackie Childress, Appropriations, Marilyn Jeffrey, Revenue and Support Clerk, Ashley Phillips, Education, Diana Hicksonbaugh, Corporations and Transportation, Mark Knotts, Agriculture and Minerals, Barb Austin, Travel and Labor, Sandy Dent, Copy Center Clerk.
you have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Standing committees of the 2023 General Session of the 67th Legislature will serve as the standing committees for the 2024 budget session of the 67th Legislature. I direct the Chief Clerk to notify His Excellency the Governor that the 2024 budget session of the House of Representatives, 67th Legislature, is organized and ready to receive any communications he may desire to submit. I direct the Chief Clerk to notify the Senate that the 2024 budget session of the House of Representatives, 67th Legislature, is organized and ready to receive any communications they may desire to submit. And I have a few opening remarks and then a couple of catch-up things, and then we'll get to the other motions. As I sat down to write these opening remarks, I realized the relationships between the factions within this body are more strained than ever. As we enter this 2024 budget session of the 67th Legislature, let's remember the great institution that we are part of, the Wyoming House of Representatives. Let's respect this institution by showing respect to each other and by treating each other with civility on this floor and during this session. I wondered what the founders of our nation said about civility, so I did some searching and found this quote in a letter from Thomas Jefferson to John Dickinson, 23rd of July, 1801. My dear friend, if we do not learn to sacrifice small differences of opinion, we can never act together. Every man cannot have his way in all things. If his own opinion prevails at some times, he should acquiesce on seeing that of others preponderate at others. Without this mutual disposition, we are disjointed individuals, but not a society. I believe those were good words. Civility allows us to work together. Democracy must be constantly tended like a fire, or it can go out. John Adams left us a good reminder of the struggle to maintain a democracy in his letter to John Taylor, the 17th of December, 1814. Remember, democracy never lasts long. It is in vain to say that democracy is less vain, less proud, less selfish, less ambitious, or less avaricious than aristocracy or monarchy. It is not true, in fact, and nowhere appears in history. Those passions are the same in all men, under all forms of simple government, and when unchecked, produce the same effects of fraud, violence, and cruelty. It is incumbent on all of us to check these passions and to remember the importance of the rules and the processes that govern the legislature. Please remember to give each other some grace in difficult moments, because none of us are perfect. I bought each of you a copy of George Washington's Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior, and I set it on your desk. Before the age of 16, George Washington copied these rules, likely to better his penmanship and to help refine his manners. These rules are from a list of maxims originally compiled by French Jesuits in the 1590s that were eventually translated into English by Francis Hawkins in London around 1640. Some of these 110 rules are incredibly salient today, and some are just humorous because of the passage of time. I will read three, one for being salient, one for being humorous, and one for being thoughtful. I believe Rule 86 is very salient to this chamber. In disputes, be not so desirous to overcome as not to give liberty to each one to deliver his opinion, and submit to the judgment of the major part, especially if they are judges of the dispute. Rule 100 is still good advice, but humorous. Cleanse not your teeth with your tablecloth, napkin, fork, or knife. But if others do, let it be done with a pick tooth. And the last rule, number 110, is both thoughtful and imperative for our work as legislators and citizens. Labor to keep alive in your breast that celestial fire called conscience. I hope you enjoy the book. I wish you a good session. And now let's get down to work. I did want to do a little housekeeping, and I know we've all received this, but I think it's still a good reminder. In accordance with House Rule 13-2A, bill drafts that have been prepared by LSO, approved by the sponsor, and returned to LSO by noon on Wednesday, February 14th, third day of the session, will appear on the final list of bills, which will be provided to the Speaker as being within the cutoff deadline for jacketing bills. It requires a 2/3 vote of the House to introduce bills after the cutoff deadline. And then one other thing I wanted to bring up is I had emailed a potential rule amendment, and then another member, Representative Bear, he also had a rule amendment. And I'm going to tell you how to find those rule amendments on the website. And then at the end of it, at the end of the day, we'll come back to those rules. And if anybody wants to move either rule, they can move either rule, and we'll take that up. And remember, a rule change takes a 2/3 majority to amend the rules at this point. So if you go on the website, go to the home page, and you go to the bottom, and you go to the legislation column, and at the bottom of that column, that's the column that has bills in it, you'll see session information. If you click on that, there'll be a rule tab, and you'll be able to read the two rules. So as we kind of go through things, if you guys would please take a look at those rules, and then we'll have time to obviously read them and debate them later. So we are at, oh, yes, thank you, Chief Clerk. The doctor of the day is Jason Bloomberg. Please rise and give him a hand. We are now at that order of business of reading, introduction, and reference of bills, consent list. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'll try this again. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with House Rule 13.5, I move that there be a consent list for introductions of bills numbered. House Bill 2, House Bill 3, House Bill 4, House Bill 5, House Bill 6, House Bill 7, House Bill 10, House Bill 11, House Bill 14, House Bill 16, House Bill 20, House Bill 21, House Bill 26, House Bill 27, House Bill 32, House Bill 33, House Bill 37, and House Bill 38.
Would anyone like any of these bills removed from the consent list? Chairman Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully ask that House Bill 3 and House Bill 4, the second and third ones, be removed. They're both committee bills, but just so we can have a quick minute to talk about it. So thank you.
Representative Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully ask that House Bill 5 be removed from the consent list.
Representative Hornock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully ask that House Bill 2 be removed from the consent list.
Chairman Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully ask that House Bill 33 be removed from the consent list.
So by my, anybody else? Anybody? Oh, Representative Ottman. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully ask that House Bill 37 be removed.
Anybody else? Representative Stivar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully request that House Bill 14, House Bill 20, and House Bill 38 be removed.
Anybody else? So I'm going to repeat the bills that were removed from the consent list. That would be House Bill 2, House Bill 3, House Bill 5, House Bill 14, House Bill 20, House Bill 33, House Bill 37, and House Bill 38. First, and House Bill 4, I thought I said. Oh, and House Bill 4. All right. First reading of the bills on the consent list.
House Bill 6, sponsored by Transportation.
First reading of the bill.
Light and high-profile vehicle closures. House Bill 7, sponsored by Transportation.
First reading of the bill.
Alternative fuel tax, electric amendments. House Bill 10, sponsored by Agriculture.
First reading of the bill.
Grace period, state land lease renewals. House Bill 11, sponsored by Agriculture.
First reading of the bill.
State land lease amendments. House Bill 16, sponsored by Travel.
First reading of the bill.
Sutton State Archaeological Site legal description. House Bill 21, sponsored by School Facilities.
First reading of the bill.
Charter School leasing. House Bill 26, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
Emergency Protective Services, effective period. House Bill 27, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
DFS and law enforcement cross-reporting. House Bill 32, sponsored by Minerals.
First reading of the bill.
Geologic sequestration, unitization amendments.
And we'll give the chief time to get the bills loaded.
We're good.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll on the consent list.
Roll call for the consent list. Allemand. Allred. Allred. Aye. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Harrelson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermueller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washit. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwanitzer Dan. Zwanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes?
By Bill.
Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused. As for House Bill 6, are there any changes? Hornock, aye to no. Singh, aye to no. Ottman, aye to no. Penn, aye to no. Andrew, aye to no. Slagle, aye to no. Stivar, aye to no. Ward, aye to no. Bear, aye to no. Strock, aye to no. Winter, aye to no. Knapp, aye to no. Heiner, aye to no. Jennings, aye to no. Allemand, aye to no. Tarver, aye to no. Sorry. Pendergraft disappeared. Pendergraft, aye to no. Locke, aye to no. Trujillo, aye to no. Nyman, aye to no. Further changes? Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 41 aye, 20 no, 1 excused. For House Bill 7, are there any changes? Hornock, aye to no. Are there any changes? Penn, aye to no. Ottman, aye to no. Andrew, aye to no. Slagle, aye to no. Smith, I to know. Stivar, I to know. Haroldson, I to know. Ward, I to know. Bear, I to know. Strock, I to know. Knapp, I to know. Winter, I to know. Heiner, I to know. Jennings, I to know. Allemand, I to know. Pendergraft, I to know. Locke, I to know. Olson, I to know. Yin, Yin is a conflict. Rodriguez Williams, I to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 40 aye, 20 no, 1 excused. 1 conflict. As for House Bill 10, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused. As for House Bill 11, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused. As for House Bill 16, are there any changes? Andrew, aye to know. Strock, aye to know. Jennings, aye to know. Pendergraft, aye to know. Allemand, aye to know. Stivar, aye to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 55 aye, 6 no, 1 excused. As for House Bill 21, are there any changes? Any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused. As for House Bill 26, are there any changes? Singh, aye to know. Ottman, aye to know. Penn, aye to know. Smith, aye to know. Slagle, aye to know. Stivar, aye to know. Haroldson, aye to know. Ward, aye to know. Strock, aye to know. Winter, aye to know. Knapp, aye to know. Heiner, aye to know. Jennings, aye to know. Allemand, aye to know. Pendergraft, aye to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 46 aye, 15 no, 1 excused. As for House Bill 27, are there any changes? Penn, aye to know. Smith, aye to know. Slagle, aye to know. Stivar, aye to know. Ward, aye to know. Haroldson, aye to know. Strock, I to know. Winter. I to know. Knapp. I to know. Jennings. I to know. Allemand. I to know. Hornock. I to know. Pendergraft. I to know. Locke. I to know. Bear. I to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 46 aye, 15 no, 1 excused. As for House Bill 32, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused.
All right, Chief Clerk, just to make sure I got it right, those that passed are 10, 11, 16, 21, 26, 27, and 32. Does that cross with your sheet? Yep. I have 10, 11, 16, 21, 26, 27, and 32. Okay, the following bills have received the required approval of 2/3 of the elected members. I am referring House Bill 10 to Agriculture Committee number 5. I'm referring House Bill 11 to Committee number 5, Agriculture. I am referring House Bill 16 to Committee number 6, Travel. I am referring House Bill 21 to Committee number 4, Education. I'm referring House Bill 26 to Committee number 1, Judiciary. I'm referring House Bill 27 to Committee number 1, Judiciary. And I'm referring House Bill 32 to Committee number 9, Minerals. And now we will, so the process now will be all of those bills that were pulled off of the list will be heard again, and we will kind of go through the process. Chief Clerk, do we do the name the bill and tap the gavel, or we already read them in, or we got to read them in again? Okay, the ones we pull off, we'll read again. Okay, so we are on that order of business of bills that got pulled off the consent list. And so those bills I have are 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, 20, 33, 37, and 38. So, Reader?
House Bill 2, sponsored by Travel.
First reading of the bill.
Non-resident fishing license fee increase.
So what we're going to do on this, our rules are the bringer of the bill has 2 minutes. The opposition has 2 minutes, but only 1 minute per individual. And then there is 30 seconds to rebut the opposition. There'll be, cards will be pulled up at 20 seconds. You'll see a yellow card. When you've hit the end of your time, you'll see a red card or a red card file. And at that point, I will cut off debate. Is that clear to everybody? All right. Chairman Newsom, you're going to introduce the bringer of that's going to explain it?
Right. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 2 do pass. And I'm going to pass the explanation of this bill over to Representative Byron.
Representative Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2 is a bill that was brought to Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, Culture Resources that simply raises non-resident fishing licenses across the board 10%. It does not include any youth licenses, so no in-state license fee increases. This is a simple bill that brings the daily fishing licenses from $12 to $14 for out-of-state folks, from 54 to 60 for the 5-day, and from 100 to 110. And the logic behind this, as I did some research and as somebody that has spent a lot of time in the industry, 18 plus years, we haven't seen an increase in that time. So once again, does not affect any resident licenses, nor does it affect youth.
Representative Heiner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is basically an increase in taxes and fees when our state has a surplus budget. So why do we need to increase taxes and fees? What will the Wyoming Game and Fish do with the additional revenue? Or will it just go into some black hole general fund? A large portion of those that come into Wyoming to fish are people that were originally raised here in Wyoming. They were raised and they had to go outside of the state to seek employment. Yet they still love to come back to the state to enjoy the fishing with family members. To give you an example, if they want to come back for a week backpacking trip, they got to buy a week's pass, which costs about $84. If their spouse wants a fishing license as well, that's $168 just to come fishing in Wyoming, and they grew up here. The annual cost for a couple, if they want that rate, is $227. I don't think we need to raise fees in a year when we have excess budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That was right on time. Representative Hornock.
Mr. Speaker, this bill goes the wrong way. A no vote on this bill is a better solution, and let me explain. The vast majority of out-of-state people coming to Wyoming buy daily licenses. Look at the fiscal note. If we keep the daily and annual fees the same, but lower the 5-day license fee, yes, lower by more than half to $25 from the current $54, what will happen, I bet, is that a lot of people that are coming up for the weekend to fishing camp, instead of buying the 2 or 3 day daily licenses, they will instead buy the 5-day license because it's cheaper. If just 15% of those people that purchase the daily license decide instead to purchase the 5-day license, then because they would have more fishing opportunity and would save money, we would generate over $700,000 in revenue. That's more revenue than what's on this bill. And so we will, if we raise the non-resident license fee across the board, this is going the wrong way. Please vote no on this bill. There's a better way to do it.
All right, we have used up how much time we have left? 5 seconds. I think we've used up the time. We have a 30-second rebuttal. Representative Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me remind the body that the Game and Fish does not live in the general fund. So this money does not go to the general fund. This money goes to the Game and Fish. Also, our good friends at Game and Fish are dealing with massive issues with our aquatic invasive species. And this is a way that we can support them to continue to have clean waters from invasive species. So I ask for a yes vote.
All right, thank you. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for House Bill 2. Allemand? Allred? Andrew? Angelos, excused. Banks? Bear? Berger? Brown? Burkhart? Byron? Chadwick? Chestick? Klauston? Conrad? Prego, Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwanitzer Dan. Zwanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 40 aye, 22 no, 1 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 2 has failed introduction. Okay, we're gonna repeat
Correction in
that.
the vote total, 39 aye, 22 no, 1 excused.
All right, having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 2 has failed introduction. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 3.
House Bill 3, sponsored by Revenue.
Chairman Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, gavel, just a second.
Okay.
I gotta. First reading of the bill.
Property tax exemption for long-term homeowners.
Chairman Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 3 and ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to give the body an opportunity if there's questions to talk about this. I think there are 12 property tax bills, some committee, some individual that I know about now. I think there'll probably be more by Wednesday, filing deadline. And so I think it's really important to get all these bills to our committee. Because this vote we're taking now, of course, which was instituted in 1971, is really just to talk about the bills. And so I think this issue, and you got 62 idea machines and 31 down there as well. And I think we get all our ideas together. I think we've got a pretty good foundation of at least a dozen bills right now, maybe more before we go. So this bill, Mr. Speaker, would provide a property tax exemption for long-term homeowners. It was an idea that a member of our committee had. Half the states do this. I think this bill is ripe for amendments. I don't know that 30 and 30 years resident and, all that is correct. There could be tiers to this. We could work. I've heard from a lot of folks around the state, why isn't it 20 or what? I think we can amend that. But if it dies here in a few minutes, we can't even talk about it. So I urge your favorable vote and I'd stand for any questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Anybody opposed? Not. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
House Bill 3. Alderman.
Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez-Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stiff, Storer, Strock, Stibar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washit, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Swanser Dan, Swanser Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 59 aye, 2 no, 1 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 3 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 3 Revenue. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 4.
House Bill 4, sponsored by Revenue,
First reading of the bill.
Property Tax Refund Program.
Chairman Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Similar idea on this. This is a bill we passed last year, was wildly successful, 9,000 households. And then there were a couple more counties jumped in and did a county refund program. This bill, though, there was some criticism that the program last year, if you were at 125% income, great. But if you were at 126%, you fall off that cliff. And so the committee wanted to add tiers to this. It's got several tiers. I think too many, frankly. I think we can amend that back a little bit. I think it still needs a little work. We also went back and worked on the calculation of income. The gross income before, I think, didn't include Social Security, or will not include Social Security now. So we've got that, I think, corrected, but I still think this bill needs a little work, but I think it's a good program we have out there, and we want to keep working on it to make it better. So I'd stand for any questions. And again, one of a dozen to 15 bills, Mr. Speaker. I hope we can get all these through. Appreciate your support of the last bill, because I think other than the budget, you know, the House Revenue Committee, some of you got some emails last week. Really appreciate it. Talked to so many old friends around Wyoming, but the House Revenue Committee has really been involved with us all across the state. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So how much time do I got left? Okay, good. Thank you. Bringing this home, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I just remind us all that this is a process to just consider the bill, right? And again, brought into our Constitution in 1971. So I appreciate the opportunity then that we can at least run these bills through a normal process that our founders envisioned in 1890. So your aye vote, and then we can put it in the process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just exactly right. Any 2 minutes exactly. Any rebuttal to the bill? Anybody on the no side? All right, Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 4.
Allemand, Allred, Andrew, Angelos, excused, Banks, Bear, Berger, Brown, Burkhart, Byron, Chadwick, Chestick, Klauston, Conrad, Prego, Davis, Eklund, Harrelson, Harshman, Heiner, Henderson, Warnock, Jennings, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stiff, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washut, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Swanitzer Dan, Swanitzer Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 61 aye, 1 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 4 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 3, Revenue. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 5.
House Bill 5, sponsored by Labor.
First reading of the bill.
Behavioral Health Redesign Amendments.
Chairman Zwanitzer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please present House Bill 5 and give you some information on it because it really is imperative. I'm not sure why it was pulled off, but happy to educate you all. If you're not familiar with Behavioral Health Redesign of 2021, we started a program 3 years ago that finally commences this summer, where we basically quit throwing government money at behavioral health centers unless they produce. Do I need to move the bill, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, you do.
I would like to move House Bill 5 and then explain it, please.
You bet.
Thank you. So again, the behavioral health redesign, it stops the cycle of incarceration, release to a mental health center. Mental health center releases them. They have a mental health issue. They get back into the criminal justice system. It's going to save about $50 million over the next decade if we do this right. It starts this summer. This bill in front of you is a cleanup bill because we have a small issue that in the redesign, the people who are either on Medicaid or super low income, they will actually lose access to services on July 1st this year unless they're classified as a higher tier. But your low level, depressed, small behavioral health needs, they're not going to be able to have access to behavioral health services if they're on Medicaid or low income unless we fix this and clean it up in the bill. So please vote for the bill. Happy to explain it more, but it really is a cleanup bill that keeps the system how we've done it for the past 40 years. And maybe the good vice chairman can extrapolate where we are going.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is an important mental health bill and an important mental health vote. And all we're trying to do, because if you're low income and you qualify for Medicaid, Medicaid does not reimburse for most mental health services. A lot of mental health services. And so what we're trying to do in this mental health redesign is capture Medicaid anywhere we can. So if they come in and they get services and it's medical or therapeutic that they could bill Medicaid, we're trying to capture that.
Time. Representative Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. According to testimony to the Joint Labor Committee, this amendment expands the populations eligible for state-funded treatment. As this bill expands the population entitled to state-funded behavioral health claims under the behavioral health redesign and sets the stage for future increased expenditures under this program, I urge a no vote.
Representative Hornock.
Mr. Speaker, this bill is a Trojan horse for Medicaid expansion in Wyoming. The purpose of this bill is to figure out what Medicaid expansion would look like and cost the state of Wyoming. This bill lifts insurance requirements and lumps together everyone making less than 200% of the federal poverty level that is treated under such labels as mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, sexual assault treatment, and others into one category for the purposes of collecting information to discover what Medicaid expansion would cost. But the bill calls it a savings. The state health department already spends $100 million treating people with mental health disorders.
Time.
So
Is there any time left on, he was a minute and there wasn't, there's 30 seconds left for somebody else. You had your minute. Representative Ward had her time. We still have 30 seconds left on the opposition if anybody would like to use that. If not, we'll go for 30 seconds for the rebuttal. Chairman Zwanitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill has nothing to do with Medicaid expansion. This bill targets, it keeps the system how we've had it for the past 40 years. Otherwise, the people on Medicaid and low incomes, if they're not classified as a higher tier, these are the people who just go in and say, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling suicidal. We have 988, but if this cleanup doesn't happen, and they're not going to get access to services until they get to a higher level of crisis,
Time.
which costs more money.
Thank you. Chief Clerk, please call the roll. House Bill 5.
For House Bill 5, Allemand. No. Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Locke. No. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. No. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strzok. I'm sorry, Strzok. Stivar. Starver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwanitzer Dan. Zwanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Sing. No to aye. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 40 aye, 21 no, 1 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 5 has failed introduction. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 10. Thanks.
I have House Bill 14.
Oh, yeah, sorry. House Bill 14, wrong one. My bad.
House Bill 14, sponsored by Labor.
First reading of the bill.
Prior authorization regulations.
Who's at the mic? Chairman Zwanitz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 14, I would like to move. This is on prior authorization, perhaps the most important bill outside of the budget this session, in my estimation. We are the only state right now that does not have anything in statute regarding prior authorization. If you're not familiar with that term, this is a process when you're seeking medical care for a lengthy period of time and working on how you're going to pay for that care, getting approved for operations, for ongoing mental health needs, pretty much any type of medical procedure in today's world. I think we have 10 people at our local medical center here who just deal with prior authorization back and forth. So what the bill does has been a huge lift over the interim between everyone affected, doctors, nurses, hospitals, insurance companies, to ensure that not only do we have something in statute, we have something that's going to work for Wyoming so people can get approved timely, so they can get paid timely, and get quicker access to care like many other states. So I'm happy to answer any questions on rebuttal, but again, I think you'll hear from all sides. This is an extremely important bill. It's going to lower insurance costs. It keeps doctors happy, keeps insurance companies generally happy. And it's just about 10 years behind, and Wyoming's just late to the punch on getting this in statute and moving forward.
Would anybody like to rebut that? Anybody on the opposition side? Is that you, Representative Hornock, or are you just moving through? All right. With that, Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 14.
Roll call on House Bill 14. Allen. Alred. Andrew. Angelos, excused.
Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown.
Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Sestak. Paulson. Conrad. Krager. Davis. Eklund. Carrollton. Marshman. Steiner. Henderson. Warnock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Larson JT.
Excused.
Molly. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Neemick. Northrop. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Oppen. Pendergraft. Penn. Preventa. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. George. Strop. Slybar. Carter. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washit. Western. Winter. Wiley. Wiley. Yin. Wallingford Dan. Wallingford Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Larson JT. Are there any changes? Slagle. Aye. No. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 56 aye, 4 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 14 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 10, Labor. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 20.
House Bill 20, sponsored by Education.
First reading of the bill.
School Finance Regional Cost Adjustment Study.
Chairman Northrop.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I move House Bill number 20 and ask for your favorable consideration. House Bill 20 is part of the ongoing 5-year legislative review that we do with education costs of dollars. And so the court's mandated that every 5 years we go in and look at that. We're going to take some data and use it to try to come up with a better number for the Wyoming Cost of Living Index. We use that number quite a bit in education. It's the difference between living in Niobrara County and living in Jackson. That's basically about as far apart as they get. So this data then will be used to, like I said, generate a new number. We have not updated that number since 2010. So, or at least used it when we did update it. So the idea is to get new data, put it together, get a new number, and be able to utilize that number so that it's more fair across the state. I stand for questions.
Anybody in opposition? Not, Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 20.
For House Bill 20, Allemand, Allred, Andrew, Angelos, excused, Banks, Bear, Berger, Brown, Burkhart, Byron, Chadwick, Chestick, Clauston, Conrad, Prego, Davis, Eklund, Harrelson, Harshman, Heiner, Henderson, Warnock, Jennings, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT,
Excused.
Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrop, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez-Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stiff, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washut, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Zwaniter Dan, Zwaniter Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Allemand, aye. To no further changes? Locke, aye. To no further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 53 aye, 7 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 20 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 4, Education. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 33.
House Bill 33, sponsored by Minerals.
First reading of the bill.
Mining operations, blasting requirements.
Chairman Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 33 for introduction and turn the explanation over to the representative from District 19.
Representative Conrad.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, members of the House. As you can see at this moment, about 95% of our world's rare earth is a source rather from China and or other areas. They're using our everyday lives through defense systems, our phones, emerging technologies, et cetera. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, 95% of those rare earth minerals come from overseas, specifically China. The state of Wyoming has an abundant amount of resources, which I think you heard today in the governor's speech. And most importantly, we have an incredible amount of deposits of rare earth. They present a viable opportunity for all of us here in extraction with also minerals elsewhere. A recent discovery of about 2.34 billion metric tons of rare earth minerals near Wheatland is just one example of many. Additionally, nickel and cobalt near Jeffrey City, copper near South Jordan or South Carbon County, uranium and gold as well. This bill is at the industry's request, specifically to ensure there are specific expectations through statute that ensures efficient, safe, sound, and use of explosives as they mine, specifically for non-coal. As we speak today, there is no legislation, there is no statutory requirement, there is no law as it relates to blasting for non-coal operations. Let me repeat that. As we speak today, there are no statutes that cover blasting for non-coal mineral extraction. This bill will create a new subparagraph noted within the bill itself that will comply with all laws, the NFPA, the Department of Homeland Security, the Wyoming DEQ that protects most specifically the homeowners landowners and mine operators, and the public through rulemaking requirements.
Time. Would anybody like to speak in opposition of this bill? House Bill 33. Not, Chief Clerk, please call the roll. House Bill 33.
House Bill 33. Allemand. Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Warnock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT.
Excuse.
Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwanitzer Dan. Zwanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers. Are there any changes? Penn, aye. To no. Smith, aye. To no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 55 aye, 5 noes, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 33 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 37.
House Bill 37, sponsored by corporations.
First reading of the bill.
Election offenses, intimidation.
Chairman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report that it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 37 do pass, and I will walk you through the bill. First, let me just open with some general comments on the bill. This bill is trying to beef up our election code by creating a misdemeanor and a felony for election intimidation. Election intimidation is a serious offense. In the bill, if you look at page 2, you'll see the elements of the crime of a misdemeanor of election intimidation. That is inducing or attempting to induce fear in an election official or elector by the use of verbal threats of force, violence, harm, or soliciting the contribution of funds by use of verbal threats of physical violence. So that is the misdemeanor. The felony, so tax on, it becomes aggravated if it's knowingly and willfully. So those two elements that I just read to you, the inducing, attempting to induce fear, and then the solicitation of funds by use of force. If those two things are done willingly and willfully, and knowingly, then it becomes a felony. It becomes a felony with punishable by not more than 5 years or a $10,000 fine or both. And Mr. Speaker, that is the bill. I hope and really appreciate your consideration of introduction of this bill so that if there are any concerns with it, we can discuss those in the COW. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, would anybody like to oppose this bill? Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill criminalizes behaviors that are already a crime. It is unnecessary and duplicative to create new crimes when it's already illegal to engage in voter intimidation. If we need security at these places, there's another way to do it, through volunteers and through the election system, not through creating severe punishment and also a felony. This morning, we heard a talk about how many pro se litigants are out there in our state. We can help curb the difficulty represented individuals have in Wyoming courts by preventing needless statutes from being enacted and simply properly enforce the laws that already exist.
Under the wire, anybody else on the opposing side? Representative Trujillo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is creating a problem that isn't in Wyoming. We already have the laws in place that will give them jail times and fines. Also, I guess that's all.
All right, we still have 30 seconds if anybody else wants to be in opposition. Not, we will go to the rebuttal. Chairman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I need to clarify some things. What this bill, without this bill for election intimidation, all forms of election intimidation are a felony. So this bill, what it does is reduce the behavior to a misdemeanor if it's not knowingly and willfully. So I think that's really important that we separate out the misdemeanor from the felony, which is the purpose of this bill. And then yeah, I think the felony speaks for itself on the need for
Time.
it. Thank you.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 37.
Allred, Andrew, Angelos, excused, Banks, Bear, Berger, Brown, Burkhart, Byron, Chadwick, Chestick, Boston, Conrad, Prego, Davis, Eklund, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Henderson, Hornock, Jennings, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, excused, Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stith, Storr, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washut, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Zwaniter Dan, Zwaniter Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 36 aye, 24 no, 2 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 37 has failed introduction. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 38.
House Bill 38, sponsored by corporations.
First reading of the bill.
Voter qualifications, durational residency requirement.
Chairman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, that it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 38 do pass. This bill is voter qualifications for durational residency. It's forward-looking in an attempt to make sure that our election code is as tight as it can be to prevent any mishaps or fraud. If you look at the meat of the bill, which is on page 4, you'll see the language under Romanet 6 that a voter must have been a bona fide resident of Wyoming for not less than 30 days before the date of the election in which he offers to vote. So it's creating a 30-day residency requirement before you can cast a ballot to vote. Below that is the exception. The exception is presidential elections. So and that's just to comply with federal law. And that's the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Would anybody like to speak in opposition of the bill? Not. Chief Clerk, please call the roll. House Bill 38.
Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Klauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Warnock. Jennings. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Excused. Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrop. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwanzer Dan. Zwanzer Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Andrew, no. To aye. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 55 aye, 5 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 38 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 7, Corporations. Chairman Northrop,
Privilege of the floor, Mr. Speaker.
please go ahead. Privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce some special students from our 8 community colleges. These are the recipients of the 2023 Shaping Wyoming's Future Student Awards. One student was selected from each college to highlight their story of determination and success. They will be recognized this evening at the Wyoming Business Alliance reception for how they have transformed their lives through experience with the Wyoming Community College system and how their efforts are shaping the future of Wyoming. Please help me welcome, and will you please stand when I read your name? And please hold your applause to the end. Dash Lloyd, Casper College, Nursing. Brian Roan Horse, Central Wyoming College, Film. Carrie Keller, Eastern Wyoming College, Veterinary Technology. Naya Parker, Gillette College, Criminal Justice. Lily Navarro, Laramie County Community College, Bachelor of Applied Science in Applied Management. Jacob Wells, Northwest College, Criminal Justice. Laundry May, Sheridan College, Agriculture, and Dalton Stoddard, from Western Wyoming Community College Nursing. Please help me join. Thank you.
Welcome to the House. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 70. It's all right.
House Bill 70, sponsored by Appropriations.
First reading of the bill.
Local government distributions.
Chairman Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move House Bill 70. I'll turn the explanation of the bill over to the good representative where the land is green.
Representative Stitt.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Members, House Bill 70, local government distributions. It appropriates $105 million for distributions to cities, counties, and towns. That is $5 million less than the governor's recommendation of $110 million. You are familiar with the history of this. Before 25 years ago, before 1999, there was no distribution bill like this, but the cities, counties, and towns got earmarked percentages of our streams of mineral taxes. That was de-earmarked 25 years ago. And since then, the state has made it up with the local government distributions. You have attached to your bill, you have a printout so you can see exactly how much each city, county, and town gets. This is for purposes of introduction. You may want the number to be higher, you may want the number to be lower, but we have to pass this bill or the cities, counties, and towns do not get local distributions. So I respectfully request an aye vote. With respect to why our recommendation is lower, as you recall, the cities, counties, and towns did get direct American Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA funds, and then some cities, counties, and towns are also receiving opioid settlements as they trickle in. So we believe that the $105 million should be adequate for their needs. We request an aye vote.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak in opposition of this bill? Not. Chief Clerk, please call the roll. House Bill 70.
Allemand. Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Austin. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT, excused. Lawley. Locke. Nyman.
Aye.
Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermueller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Repeat. Smith. Stith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters? Ward? Washit? Western? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Zwaniter Dan? Zwaniter Dave? Speaker Summers?
Aye.
Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 57 aye, 3 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 70 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 2 Appropriations. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 118.
House Bill 118, sponsored by Appropriations.
First reading of the bill.
American Rescue Plan Act Appropriations Amendments.
Chairman Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move House Bill 118. I'll turn the explanation over to the good representative from Natrona County.
Representative Walters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before us is House Bill 118, the ARPA bill. What this bill does, if you look at the pages 4 through 18, we're going to bring in the old bill from 2022. Then pages 19 through 21 are the bill from 23. And then we start the new section. The reason we do this is there's been some areas that we put funding into in previous sessions that either haven't been completely expended or they were ineligible for ARPA expenditures after further research by our executive branch. And so this bill brings those funds back in and then re-obligates them. And so in section that starts on the top of page 22, and really it's shown in the table on page 23, we then reappropriate the funds, $10 million for mental health, $219,000 for staffing in the WIN nursing program, $27 million for water and sewer projects. So in the water and sewer projects, what this does is on the water side of the projects, it goes back into any project that is already funded. And if part of their funding came from the Water One account, then it reimburses that. And so then those funds come back into Water One, making more money available in Water One, because our Water One doesn't have the strings that the ARPA funds have. On the sewer side, it's for projects that are already ongoing. If a community put in funding for sewer, this will reimburse them, thus giving them more funding to do more projects in our communities. So that's what we're doing there. Then we have $15 million for inflationary costs. This is inflationary costs on the existing programs. They'll have to apply. And then staffing costs, which is within our state budget department, as well as the grant office.
Representative Heiner in the opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the past, we've used the State Loan and Investment Board to distribute these funds to our communities and municipalities and counties. And it's been very, very successful. We sent out $70 million. They have a web page that opens up and you can make application for the money. It's prioritized, it's verified and vetted in an appropriate way, but they ran out of money and only were able to authorize 11 of the 18 projects that were vetted. I think this is a great idea to defeat this bill, put the money back to the SLIB board, direct them to open up that portal and let our communities and municipalities make application for this money. In the Department of Environmental Quality, they have a list of projects for drinking water that they need this year, $136 million in this state. And in the next 2 years of 25 and 26, they need $650 million for safe drinking water. There is a need out there in our communities, and this is an opportunity to getting that.
Representative Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to just share with you some of the local projects that this money could go to if we would let the SLIB board reopen up that portal. Greater Smoot, WSD, $220,000. Bear River Regional violations, $200,000. Owl Creek and South Thermopolis, $6 million. Kennington Springs, $250,000. Bear Oil Water Supply, $500,000. Pine Haven Water System, $300,000. Hannah Treatment Plant and Reservoir Upgrades, $500,000. Wheatland Uranium Compliance, $500,000. Kimmer Diamondville, $250,000. Rawlins Raw Water Transmission, $3.8 million. Meeteetse, 1.6 million. Rollins, 4.5 million. Recluse, $100,000. Manderson Tank, $800,000. Pine Bluffs Reserves, 1.3 million. Pine Bluffs, 750,000. Teton County.
Time. Representative Walters for your 30-second rebuttal, or Chairman Nicholas, one of you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Nicholas.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to use this money, as was just suggested, then you need to pass this bill and amend it. But we did have presentation from the Chief Executive's office. The problem is they can't get that done in time and go through the process. We spent probably 4 days working on this, going through various options and how we can spend this money. It has to be committed by about July. And then there's a fallback position, and if it's not totally expended under contract.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 118.
Allemand. Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Harrelson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT, excused. Lawley. Locke.
No.
Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwan and Dan. Zwan and Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 37 aye, 23 no, 2 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 118 has failed introduction. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 135.
House Bill 135, sponsored by Appropriations,
First reading of the bill.
state-funded capital construction.
Chairman Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move House Bill 135 and turn it over to our explanation, the good representative from Fremont County.
Representative Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Folks, each year we bring the state capital construction bill forward that funds capital construction projects with general funds. And when I say general funds, that includes general funds we appropriate, and then the SIPA dollars, the state strategic investment funds that we get off the distribution of permanent mineral trust fund revenue. You'll see that this year we done a little handout. There's 199 million and change, 299,327,000 dollars. It's the lowest, the smallest capital construction bill we've had, at least going back to 2009, 2010, largely because of the things we've done last year. It also, the other important part of this is it authorizes the use of federal funds for projects like we have this year at Camp Guernsey for the military department. It authorizes special revenue like states parks who use their motorboat gas tax to maintain and upgrade voting infrastructure. This year, you'll see the bill will address such things as the huge upgrade at the Peace Officer Standard Training Facility in Converse County, the Eastern Wyoming Community College in Converse County, military upgrades at Camp Guernsey and F.E. Warren, authorization for the Gillette Community College to build the Enzi Center and transfer ownership of properties to the replace the Stoltz Hall dorm in Sheridan at the girls' school, replace the maintenance building at the boys' school in Worland, replace the building at the Women's Correction Center in Lusk. These projects are all over the state and have been evaluated and are worthy to receive authorization for personal funds or private funds and the general fund appropriation, and would encourage your support.
Under the time. In opposition, Representative Hornock.
Mr. Speaker, last session, somebody asked me if I hate construction. Believe me, that's not the case. It is what puts food on my table. However, I have been in the industry long enough to learn to never believe a price that ends with 3 zeros. This means that the price you are looking at is a wild, you fill in the blank guess. We have a state construction department that has overseen billions of dollars of construction. But what we keep seeing on this floor are wild guesses. Then next year, we will see an inflationary adjustment because they guessed wrong. Working this way must stop, and it starts by voting no on this bill. Bring us information that shows real costs that will not increase throughout the life of the project so we can vote up or down. I manage large projects for a living, and not once have they gone over budget. There are ways to make sure this happens rather than this continual piecemeal process to guess at the costs. It starts by saying no, 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 no. How much time do I have left?
Time.
No.
Representative Heiner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a question of needs versus wants. Many of these projects on this list I hadn't seen or heard of until it was published in this bill. If it's such a need, why haven't we been aware of this before? Why do we need a new shooting facility to replace the one that we have and spend over $21 million? Why do we suddenly need to purchase or build a building in Gillette for over $33 million? Why do we need to replace our existing helibase complex for over $7 million? Is it because we need these things, or is it because we have the money to spend? It's a question of need versus want. And I can guarantee you, if we defeat this bill, we'll find out before the end of the session which are needs and which are merely wants. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
13 seconds left. I don't think that's time enough. So rebuttal, Representative Larson, 30 seconds.
Thank you. And I'd remind you that during the course of the committee of the whole, you have the opportunity to amend up and down. You know, if you don't want to let college to start getting the Enzi building, fine, kill the bill. If you don't want to replace the Stoltz building at the girls' school, which is in sad repair, kill the bill. Otherwise, let's move the bill forward. Let's have a debate, amend it as we do in the normal process of things, make it a clean bill that addresses things appropriately. If you've been paying attention and listening to JC and some of these.
Time.
Thank you.
All right, Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 135.
For House Bill 135, Allemand, Allred, Andrew, Angelos, excused, Banks, Bear, Berger, Brown, Burkhart, Byron, Chadwick, Chestick, Clauston, Conrad, Prego, Davis, Eklund, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Henderson, Hornock, Jennings, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, excused, Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stiff, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washit, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Zwaniter Dan, Zwaniter Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 37 aye, 23 no, 2 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 135 has failed introduction. Mr. Majority Floor Leader, I think we have another consent list. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I move consent list bills number HB 8, HB 9, HB 12, HB 60, HB 15, House Bill 17, House Bill 18, House Bill 19, House Bill 22, House Bill 24, House Bill 28, House Bill 29, House Bill 34, House Bill 35, House Bill 39, House Bill 40, and House Bill 41.
I think we have a quick privilege of the floor. Representative Yin.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for privilege of the floor. Members, I just wanted to recognize my county assessor who is here today, Melissa Schinkel, and welcome her to the body. She does the yeoman's work for Teton County, and I want us all to appreciate her work. Thank you. Hey.
I guess why we're doing it, I also have Treasurer Parvasini from Sublette County up there, so give her a hand as well, would you? Representative O'Hearn,
Mr. Speaker, privilege.
please.
If you haven't given Representative Strzok a birthday hug or, well, watch the harassment, sexual stuff, but wish her a happy birthday today, and let's all sing happy birthday to Representative Strzok.
All right. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tommy. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Yes, thank you and happy birthday and welcome everybody in upstairs and enjoy the house. And so now we have named the consent list, so I'm going to repeat those. And then if anybody would like to pull one of those bills off, they can. So the consent list consists of House Bills 8, 9, 12, 60, 15, 17, 18, 19, 22, 24, 28, 29, 34, 35, 39, 40, and 41. Chairman Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully would ask to remove House Bill 18 and House Bill 22, both the Revenue Committee bills, from the consent. Thank you.
Anybody else? Representative Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would request that House Bill 9 be removed, please.
Anybody else? Chairman Northrup.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully request to have House Bill 19 pulled off the list.
Would anybody else like to pull a bill off the consent list? If not, the bills on the consent list that I have here, just to check, would be 8, 12, 60, 15, 17, 24, 28, 29, 34, 35, 39, 40, and 41. So I guess, first reading of the consent list. Oh. I went by you, Clarence. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to pull off 29 and 34.
Okay. So now on the consent list, I have 8, 12, 60, 15, 17, 24, 28, 35, 39, 40, and 41. And so, first reading of the consent list.
House Bill 8, sponsored by Transportation.
First reading of the bill.
Commercial driver's license, hazardous materials endorsement. House Bill 12, sponsored by Agriculture.
First reading of the bill.
Wyoming Dairy Marketing Act repeal. House Bill 60, sponsored by Agriculture.
First reading of the bill.
Excess wildlife population damage amendments. House Bill 15, sponsored by Labor.
First reading of the bill.
Health insurance reimbursement of overpayments. House Bill 17, sponsored by Travel.
First reading of the bill.
Fishing outfitters and guides, registration of fishing boats. House Bill 24, sponsored by Labor.
First reading of the bill.
Certificate of Need repeal. House Bill 28, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
Interference with parent-child contact. House Bill 35, sponsored by Minerals.
First reading of the bill.
Limitation on environmental rulemaking. House Bill 39, sponsored by Corporations.
First reading of the bill.
Campaign reporting. House Bill 40, sponsored by Corporations.
First reading of the bill.
School District Trustee Oath of Office. House Bill 41, sponsored by Corporations.
First reading of the bill.
Candidates for state legislature residency requirement.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll on the consent list.
For the consent list, Allemand. Allred. Allred.
Excused.
Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Klauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Excused. Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrop. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washit. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zawanitzer Dan. Zawanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Allred excused. To aye. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. As for House, oops, one moment, sorry. As for House Bill 8, are there any changes? Western? Yes, Western? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 12, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Stivar? Aye to no. Further changes? Jennings? Aye to no. Further changes? Allemand? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 57 aye, 3 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 60, are there any changes? Locke? Aye to no. Provenza? Aye to no. Chestick? Aye to no. Storer? Aye to no. Sherwood? Aye to no. Yin? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 54 aye, 6 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 15, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 17, are there any changes? Singh? Aye to no. Hornock? Aye to no. Penn? Aye to no. Andrew? Aye to no. Smith? Aye to no. Slagle? Aye to no. Stivar? Aye to no. Haroldson? Aye to no. Ward? Aye to no. Bear? Aye to no. Strzok? Aye to no. Rodriguez Williams? Aye to no. Knapp? Aye to no. Heiner? Aye to no. Jennings? Aye to no. Ottman? Aye to no. Allemand? Aye to no. Tarver? Aye to no. Pendergraft? Aye to no. Locke? Aye to no. Nyman? Aye to no. Walters? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 38 aye, 22 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 24, are there any changes? Henderson? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 28, are there any changes? Pendergraft? Aye to no. Locke? Aye to no. Knapp? I to know. Allemand, I to know. Jennings, I to know. Heiner, I to know. Strock, I to know. Winter, I to know. Bear, I to know. Ward, I to know. Haroldson, I to know. Slagle, I to know. Smith, I to know. Penn, I to know. Stivar, I to know. Tarver, I to know. Ottman, I to know. Trujillo, I to know. Nyman, I to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 41 aye, 19 no, 2 excused. For House Bill 35, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Oh. Storer, aye. To no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 39, are there any changes? Singh, aye to no. Hornock, aye to no. Penn, aye to no. Ottman, aye to no. Andrew, aye to no. Smith, aye to no. Slagle, aye to no. Stivar, aye to no. Ward, aye to no. Haroldson, aye to no. Strock, aye to no. Bear, aye to no. Rodriguez Williams, aye to no. Winter, aye to no. Knapp, aye to no. Heiner, aye to no. Jennings, aye to no. Allemand, aye to no. Tarver, aye to no. Banks, aye to no. Pendergraft, aye to no. Locke, aye to no. Nyman, aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 37 aye, 23 no, 2 excused. As for House Bill 40, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused. As for House Bill 41, are there any changes? Hornock, aye to no. Penn, aye to no. Andrew, aye to no. Smith, aye to no. Slagle, aye to no. Stivar, aye to no. Ward, aye to no. Haroldson, aye to no. Bear, aye to no. Strock, aye to no. Rodriguez Williams, aye to no. Winter, I to know. Knapp, I to know. Jennings, I to know. Heiner, I to know. Allemand, I to know. Pendergraft, I to know. Locke, I to know. Zwanitzer, Dan, I to know. Nyman, I to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 40 aye, 20 no, 2 excused.
All right, Chief, I'm gonna check that list with you or with the
John will have it.
Don reader. So I have on the list for pass being 8, 12, 60, 15, 24, 35, and 40. 35 and 40. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. The following bills have received the required approval of 2/3 of the elected members. I am referring House Bill 8 to Committee Number 8, Transportation. House Bill 12 to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. House Bill 60 to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. House Bill 15 to Committee Number 10, Labor. House Bill 24 to Committee Number 10, Labor. Maybe I just said, no, I didn't repeat that. Okay. House Bill 35 to Committee Number 9, Minerals, and House Bill 40 to Committee Number 4, Education. And having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bills 17, 28, 39, and 41 have failed introduction. The next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 9.
House Bill 9, sponsored by Transportation.
First reading of the bill.
Fuel tax licensee information deadline.
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 9 and would ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, I decided to go ahead and pull this one off, considering the fact that the short title has the word tax in it. And I just want to make sure that we clean up and make sure that there's no misconceptions about this bill. This was brought to us by industry asking for a little bit of leeway in how their reporting mechanism works with the Department of Transportation, and asking that when they report their fuel tax back, that this particular timeframe is currently in statute at 10 days, and they are asking for an extension of that out to 15 business days. And that is just an allowance to try to make things flow a little bit smoother inside of their business practices. And honestly, this again was just something that was brought to us by industry, and we looked at it and said yes. So again, I just want to make sure that we have some work to do. So I would ask for a favorable consideration. Thank you.
All right. Would anybody like to speak against this bill? Not, Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 9.
Allemand. Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clausen. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Hornock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT, excused. Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Obermueller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stiff. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Swanitzer Dan. Swanitzer Dave. Speaker Summers. Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 60 aye, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 9 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 8, Transportation. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 18.
House Bill 18, sponsored by Revenue.
First reading of the bill.
Property tax inflation cap.
Chairman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 18 and ask for your favorable consideration, Mr. Speaker and members. You know, in Wyoming, we cap the number of mills that can be assessed. You know, many states, locals can assess more mills. Only here can we set up special districts who vote of the people in that district. We certainly cap the assessment rate at 9.5%. Locals can't fluctuate that, and it has to be within 4 percentage points of industrial and the industrial and all other have to be within 4% of each other. And then, Mr. Speaker, the thing we don't cap though is residential value. And about half the states do that. And of that half that do cap residential value increases, many of them do it like this bill, going with the rate of inflation not to exceed a number. And so it's similar, but a little different. So really, that's it. It caps it at the rate of inflation not to exceed 5%. And for example, we use the CPI inflation in this bill. It's forecasted to be 2.31% in 24, 2.11 in 25. This bill will go into effect next January if the constitutional amendment passes. And we need because our Constitution says fair market value. Now, we've seen some other approaches with exemptions. And because the Constitution also says that the legislature can prescribe exemptions. So there's room to argue on that, but I think this is a committee piece of work, and I think will be an important third cap, because that's what we're hearing, right? It's not so much how much, but how much it's increasing. And that's all because these folks who now have found Wyoming are moving here and paying cash for homes and driving up our value. So it's an interesting thing, and it's happening in most of our places, right? So anyway, I'd stand for any questions, Mr. Speaker and members.
Right under the wire. Would anybody like to speak against this bill? Not. Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 18.
For House Bill 18, Allemand. Allred. Andrew. Angelos, excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron, Chadwick. Chestick. Clauston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Warnock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT, excused. Lawley. Locke. Nyman. Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stiff, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washut, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Swanser Dan, Swanser Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Jennings, aye. To no. Further changes? Yin, aye. To no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 56 aye, 4 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 18 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 3, Revenue. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 19.
House Bill 19, sponsored by Education.
First reading of the bill.
Education Savings Account.
Chairman Northrup, there you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 119 and ask for your, or I'm sorry, not 119, it's just 19, and ask for your favorable consideration, and explain the bill is Representative Lawley.
Was that House Bill 19, not 119? Thank you. Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, House Bill 19 is an education savings account bill. It provides up to $5,000 per student for parents to use in non-public education options for their children. The current version of the bill only applies to families whose income falls below 250% of the federal poverty level, which is about $75,000 annually for a family of 4. The bill appropriates $40 million from the general fund. We know that Wyoming has always valued individualism and freedom, and it's no surprise that parents in Wyoming want more options and choices for their children in education, and that's what this bill is designed to do. Now, I'm a strong supporter of public education and of parental choice in education, and I believe Wyoming can do both. We can provide quality public education and assist parents who choose a different educational experience for their children. And I believe this bill does balance those two things. House Bill 19 also helps parents make informed choices by including accountability for private providers through certifying providers and requiring annual testing to help parents evaluate their child's progress. House Bill 19 also extends the ESA to pre-kindergarten education, which will benefit families who believe that their young children need preparation for kindergarten. The bill does not, as some people have suggested, create some kind of mandate for pre-K education. Instead, it just provides the parents a choice if they feel their child needs that help. I believe that House Bill 19 provides a really good framework and opportunity, and really the best opportunity for Wyoming to expand school choice for parents.
Todd.
Got it.
Would anybody like to speak in opposition to this bill? Representative Jennings.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to have a couple of questions. So on page 20, it talks about establishing and contracting for services for online anonymous fraud reporting. So if we could just touch on that a little.
Would anybody else like to speak against this bill? 30-second rebuttal. Representative Lawley.
Again, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Establishing or contracting for the establishment of an online anonymous fraud reporting service is simply a protection within the bill to protect parents in terms of any sort of fraud in the process of the bill, and also as well as just fraud and use of these education savings accounts and accountability.
All right.
Do I have some time left or
Chief-
no?
No,
Okay.
you're out. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allred? Andrew? Angelos excused. Banks? Bear? Berger? Brown? Burkhart? Byron? Chadwick? Chestick? Clausen? Conrad? Prego? Davis? Eklund? Haroldson? Marshman? Heiner? Henderson? Warnock? Jennings? Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT excused. Lawley? Locke? Nyman? Newsom? Nicholas? Nemec? Northrop? Oakley? Obermueller? O'Hearn? Olson? Ottman? Pendergraft? Penn? Provenza? Rodriguez Williams? Sherwood? Singh? Slagle? Smith? Stiff? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Trujillo? Walters? Ward? Washut? Western? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Swanitzer Dan? Swanitzer Dave? Speaker Summers?
Aye.
Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 41 aye, 19 no, 2 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 19 has failed introduction. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 22.
House Bill 22, sponsored by Revenue.
Oh, first reading of the bill.
Sales tax revisions.
Chairman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 22 and ask for your favorable consideration. Members, this was going to be a Senate file out of our joint work, but it's actually got a tax increase in it. And so it has to start in the House of Representatives. And I would assure you that we will take this tax increase out. And it's on page 3. It's on streaming. Right? And we've had this debate before, but this bill is not the place to have this debate. This bill is a much needed cleanup for our Department of Revenue. And if you go to the fiscal note in the back, it really gives you a great summary of all the things that this bill does. And we're not going to tax lemonade stands and garage sales. We make it clear in the bill. They don't now, but in the bill, it's unclear. We're not going to tax free admissions. Again, we don't do that, but it's not said like that in the statute. The imposition of sales tax under certain repairs needs to be clarified. And then I think the biggest thing are the out-of-state license, because right now we have 27,303 out-of-state licenses, and most of those don't need to exist. And, you know, for example, the highest county of sales tax licenses in Sheridan County with 2,800, 10% of the out-of-state. And so we got this massive with our LLC registrations. We also get this sales tax. They don't need to even register because they're not selling anything here and selling anything to our folks. And so that's a big cleanup part of that. So really this bill is all about kind of conforming to what we're doing and then cleaning up old statute from really our online sales tax. So some of those things. But again, the tax increase on streaming, I will I will vote to take that out in committee. I'll move the amendment. I know our committee will move that out because this bill is not the bill for a tax
Time.
increase. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Would anybody like to speak against this bill? Representative Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a tax increase, colleagues. The Make America Great Again policy was simply lower taxes and lower regulations. At a minimum, this bill is opposed to the Make America Great Again policy based on increasing of taxes. In addition, I would say that based on the fact that if you look at the fiscal note, it refers to the Mount Rushmore state to get the data as to how much tax would be generated. So I would say that this is not a Wyoming solution for a Wyoming problem. Let's keep higher taxes outside of our border. I urge a no vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So Representative Bear, I let you run on that one, but let's try not to refer to national politics in our debate on the floor. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak against this bill? All right, Chairman Harshman for your 30-second rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, if you do look at the fiscal note, that refers to the tax increase that I referred to when I introduced, and that is on page 3, line 14, paragraph P. And if you read that, it's about streaming subscription services. 5.8 million, which we will take out of this bill, paragraph P, I should say, on line 14, page 3. That's it. The rest of this stuff is all cleanup, and particularly of all these massive amounts of out-of-state license that put a tax on the workload, I should say, of our revenue department.
Time.
So thank you for your aye vote.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 22.
Allemand. Allred. Andrew. Angelos excused. Banks. Bear. Berger. Brown. Burkhart. Byron. Chadwick. Chestick. Clouston. Conrad. Prego. Davis. Eklund. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Henderson. Warnock. Jennings. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT, excused. Lawley. No. Lawley. Locke. No. Nyman. Newsom. Nicholas. Nemec. Northrup. Oakley. Oakley. Obermuller. O'Hearn. Olson. Ottman. Pendergraft. No. Penn. Provenza. Rodriguez Williams. Sherwood. Singh. Slagle. Smith. Stith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Trujillo. Walters. Ward. Washut. Western. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Zwaniter Dan. Zwaniter Dave. Speaker Summers. No. Are there any changes? Obermuller, aye. To no. Northrup, aye. To no. Clouston, aye. To no. Berger, aye. To no. Harshman, aye. To no. Walters, I to know. Nemec, I to know. Swanser Dave, I to know. O'Hearn, I to know. Burkhart, I to know. Larson Lloyd, I to know. Henderson, I to know. Oakley, I to know. Allred, I to know. Sherwood, I to know. Storer, I to know. Provenza, I to know. Yin, I to know. Brown, I to know. Chestick, I to know. Chadwick, I to know. Nicholas, I to know. Byron, I to know. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 1 aye, 59 no, 2 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 22 has failed introduction. Chairman Harshman for a privilege,
Privilege of the floor, Mr. Speaker.
please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, that was really quite entertaining. I don't think I've ever seen that on the House floor where the chairman gets up and votes against his own bill, but on that deal. But I just went in and requested the staff to redraft this bill without that paragraph P on it and see, maybe we can get some co-sponsors on, but I think it really is an important cleanup on these statutes for our state. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, next bill for our consideration is House Bill 29.
House Bill 29, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
Cold Case Database and Investigations.
Chairman Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 29, Cold Case Database and Investigations for introduction and ask your favorable consideration. Members, this bill deals with a very important topic. Your Judiciary Committee spent a significant amount of time over the interim on this topic. What it does is it creates some funding, $150,000 to create a cold case database that will be accessible in limited form to the general public and to a greater extent by law enforcement agencies across the country. When it comes to solving these cold cases, information is the key. Putting possible links and connections between cases here and elsewhere is how we solve many of these cases. So what this database will consist of is all the murders, rapes unsolved since 1972. Law enforcement agencies around the state will submit those cases to our division that handles this type of data, and it'll be put in this database. The key here is to make sure that these victims are not forgotten. With time and with retirements of investigative personnel, some of these victims have been forgotten. And some of these victims are family members of people in your districts. I would guess that every district in Wyoming has some of these unsolved cases, but we really don't know because there is no central repository of this information in our state. Members, I ask you to do this for your community members, for people around Wyoming who have lost loved ones to homicide or who have had family members subjected to terrible felonious sexual assault. It's the least we can do for those victims to at least remember them, to remember their cases. And perhaps with opportunity, we can solve some of these cases. Please vote aye.
Would anybody like to speak in opposition to this bill? Not, Chief Clerk, please call a roll on House Bill 29.
Allemand? Allred? Andrew? Angelos, excused. Banks? Bear? Berger? Brown? Burkhart? Byron? Chadwick? Chestick? Klauston? Conrad, Crago, Davis, Eklund, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Henderson, Hornock, Jennings, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, excused, Lawley, Locke, Nyman, Newsom, Nicholas, Nemec, Northrup, Oakley, Obermuller, O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman, Pendergraft, Penn, Provenza, Rodriguez Williams, Sherwood, Singh, Slagle, Smith, Stiff, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Trujillo, Walters, Ward, Washut, Western, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Zwanitzer Dan, Zwanitzer Dave, Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 51 aye, 9 noes, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 29 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 1 Judiciary. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 34.
House Bill 34, sponsored by Minerals.
First reading of the bill.
Solid waste, municipal cease and transfer funding.
Chairman Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 34 on introduction and ask for your favorable consideration. Members of the 67th, this is the perennial bill. We look at this bill every session, and it covers the cease and transfer of solid waste, municipal solid waste facilities throughout the state. This was set up in order to help those communities who have to close their landfills pay for it. It was originally introduced and established in 2013. This is the annual review. What we review is the priority list set up for those facilities. And frankly, some of our small communities cannot afford to pay for this out of their own pocket. Bags cannot afford to pay 2.2 million. Upton cannot afford to pay 1.3 million. They come up with money on their own, but the state also helps. Now, there are 16 priorities on this list for a total of $26.7 million. However, this account was set up in 2013 with no more appropriation. There's no appropriation in this bill. When the account is done, it's done. So there's about 13 million remaining in the account. So not all of these projects will get funded. But we review the priority list every year. If you think your community should be higher on the list, we can amend it to that. Thank you.
Would anybody like to speak against this bill? Chief Clerk, please call the roll on House Bill 34.
Wiley. Yin. Swanser Dan. Swanser Dave. Speaker Summers.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 34 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. So Chief, I think we're not going to be able to get those rules looked at, so. I think I'll go to messages from the Senate.
Message 1, Mr. Speaker, the Senate 67th Wyoming State Legislature budget session has now been called to order by President Ogden Driscoll and is ready to receive any communication you wish to submit. Sincerely, Ellen Thompson, Senate Chief Clerk.
So members of the 67th, we'll take up those two rules first thing in the morning. And so you'll be able to look at them online, think about it, and then we'll just do that right off the bat. And let's see. We got anything else on the list? Yeah, after we make the motion, right? Mr. Majority Floor Leader, that clears the deck. Make the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, the 13th day of February, 2024.
Committee announcements. Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs will meet tomorrow upon noon recess to hear the 2 bills that we were referred to. Commercial driver's license, House Bill 8, and House Bill 9, fuel tax licensee information deadline.
Chairman Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, will meet at 8 a.m. on February 14th, Valentine's Day. We will all be sweet to each other to discuss and look at House Bill 32, Geologic Sequestration Unitization Amendments, House Bill 33, Mining Operations Blasting Requirements, and if there is time, House Bill 34, Solid Waste Municipal Cease and Transfer Funding.
Let's keep her down until we get this done. We're about done. Chairman Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's hard to imagine Senator Burkhart being sweet to anybody, but with that, your House appropriations, your House appropriations will meet at 9:30 to go through House Bill 70, and we'll be meeting informally on adjournment to be working through our budgets, just so everyone remembers.
Chairman Newsom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources Committee number 6 will meet tomorrow upon noon recess, and we will discuss House Bill 16, Sutton State Archaeological Site Legal Description. Thank you.
Chairman Eklund.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Your House Ag, State Lands and Water will meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We'll work House Bill 10 and House Bill 11, and we'll be in a different room. It's, I believe, room 3. It's the middle room on the east side.
Chairman Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee, number 3, House Revenue, will meet tomorrow, Tuesday, February 13th at 8 a.m. Capitol Extension Room E005 and online to hear the following bills: House Bill 3, House Bill 4, and House Bill 18. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker Pro Tem Stiff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Management Council will meet at 5 p.m. in the Territorial Courtroom.
Any other committee announcements? Just to kind of line out tomorrow a little bit. We'll come in and we'll do the rules first. It's my intent to bring up all of the individual property tax bills next. So that'll be a list of, I don't know, like last I looked, there's like 6, 7, 8 of them out there. Those will all come probably one at a time. And then we'll roll into another consent list on committee bills. And so that's kind of our order. And then I will add to the list if we're successful enough in getting some done. We could very easily have, particularly in ag, there's a possibility we could have some committee of the whole on an ag bill or two. So that's kind of the lineup. So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed? The House stands at recess until Tuesday, February 13th, adjourned until tomorrow, Tuesday, February 13th at 10 a.m.